Hello respected viewers, I am George from Ireland. So this video is to announce the truthful tidings that His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, has died. He was called to his reward this morning, the 9th of April, in the year of grace, some 2021. So he died at not Buckingham Palace, forgive me, he died at Windsor Castle. Earlier today, Friday. The cause of death has not been disclosed. It was about noon that notices were placed outside several royal palaces simultaneously, certainly outside Buckingham Palace and indeed Holyrood House in Edinburgh, and a press release was issued to the Associated Press and the BBC, and then it was announced. I happened to find out just before 1 o'clock from someone. I was quite surprised. His Royal Highness was 99 years old. He had been in hospital in March. He was discharged from hospital about 3 weeks ago after a heart operation, so I assumed he was on the mend. And in March, that was the height of this furore over his grandson, Prince Harry, and Prince Harry's wife, Meghan Markle. And I thought, well, my goodness, this might be the death of him, and that looked really bad for them. They'll say that the old man died of a broken heart because they've been trash talking the family on Oprah. But no, he rallied, he pulled through. I don't know why he died. It might not have been something to do with his heart, but there we are. So I think it's Forth Bridge is the plan that's being pulled out of the mothballs, as in have to have a relatively low-key royal funeral to take place in not that long, about a week would be. That's an unusually brief period of mourning for the British royal family, because if it's a sovereign, it might be a fortnight later. So not that many heads of states will come. They don't want the streets crowded with tens of thousands of mourners. It'll be hundreds of thousands for the Queen when her time comes. And a funeral at St George's Chapel, Windsor, not Westminster Abbey, where sovereigns have their funerals, not St Paul's Cathedral, and to be interred there in the royal vault at St George's Chapel, where indeed so many monarchs are buried in the chapel and in the crypt beneath. And I've seen the tomb of the most recent sovereign, His Majesty King George VI, and his wife, Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. So that's it. The flags are flying at half-mast at various royal residences throughout the United Kingdom. This is faintly surprising, though, certainly at Buckingham Palace, because until Princess Diana, it was never lowered to half-mast on the basis that the sovereign never dies. The instant one sovereign dies, then the next monarch takes over. But they're doing that. Obviously, that tradition is gone. I think it was a bit wrong to do it. You could fly it at other places half-mast. So his death was not unexpected. He had been indisposed for some time. As I say, I thought he'd rallied slightly, but no, in age 99 is the picture of health. I mean, he was healthy relative to his very advanced years, sprightly, energetic. 59, he looked like 99, certainly very upright, agile and active. And they say that mental and physical activity is what keeps people healthy. Family and friends, he had that. He had activities in his life. These horse-drawn carriages were sort of in the World Cup of that. So Prince Philip, he was just 2 months shy of the full century. So just to briefly look over his life, he was born in Greece in 1921. His father was Prince Andrew of Greece, the younger son of the previous king of the Hellenes. So Prince Philip, his ancestry was German, Danish, in a sense Greek, Russian, and if you go back far enough, all European nationalities. If a prince can only marry a princess, and there are only so many royal families in Europe, then pretty soon a Portuguese princess is married to an Italian prince who's partly Austro-Hungarian, who's partly Swedish, who's partly Belgian, and they're all different nationalities. As they say, Prince Philip was said to regard himself as being European by nationality. Because, of course, when Greece became an independent country, they said to be respectable, we must have a monarch. They briefly brought in a Bavarian princeling. They decided he was no good. He was sent packing. They went to the King of Denmark. Could they take his youngest son, who wasn't in line for succession? So on the Saxe, what is it? Von Schleswig-Holstein, von Sonderburg and Glücksburg. That was Prince Philip's surname. So they took that, and the Greek royal family, they're also all princes of Denmark. So he's born a prince of Denmark. But there was the political situation in Greece right after the First World War was very unsafe. He and his family were evacuated by the Royal Navy. Shortly after his birth, he had four elder sisters, all of them married Germans, some of whom were SS officers. So he went to the United Kingdom. He grew up in the UK and indeed Paris. And then his parents split, never actually divorced. His father took up with his mistress and was living in France the rest of his life on La Côte d'Azur. And his mother, she was rather hard of hearing. She got religion. She became a nun after her husband died, and actually she went off to live in a convent in Athens. Some people thought she was a loony. So he went to Gordonstoun School just after it was founded. That's in Scotland, because there was Dr. Kurt Hahn, a Jewish German educationalist, who founded that. And I think he was even guardian of the school, Prince Philip was, as in head boy. He didn't go to university, it's quite typical in those days. He was commissioned into the Royal Navy. He served in the First World War. There he was. It was suggested that Princess Elizabeth, as she then was, should write to a boy a bit older than her. A lot of teenage girls were doing that. She was 13, he was 19, and quite an age gap, to share in this common experience. And so she did. Some people thought that a romance between them could blossom and that the war ended, by which time she was grown up. He'd served in various warships in the Mediterranean, and they were sort of pushed together. They were second cousins once removed, because Prince Philip, he's descended from Queen Victoria. His I've got this right. His mother was born in Buckingham Palace, and so his uncle was Mountbatten, Lord Louis Mountbatten. So anyway, during the Second World War, Prince Philip's father died in France of natural causes, and Prince Philip wasn't able to visit the grave for some years afterwards. Anyway, so then should they get married, and in 1947 toured to South Africa. George VI sailed off there with his wife, the Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, not the current Queen, and his daughters Elizabeth, i.e. the current Queen, and Princess Margaret. And this is partly testing the relationship between the two. Could it survive this long separation? And they got engaged. They got married in September 1947. So a moment of colour and joy in the despondency of post-war austerity. So soon they were blessed with a race of children. Well, 1 year and 2 months after the marriage, Prince Charles was born. Obviously, won't go to all of them. Anne, Andrew, Edward. So he's a very active sort, and right before he got married, he renounced his foreign titles, became a Prince of the United Kingdom. So he decided he would be Duke of Edinburgh, and it was agreed that their progeny would have the surname Mountbatten Windsor, but nevertheless the name of the dynasty would be Windsor, the British royal family having changed its surname to Windsor in 1917, not taking a surname. But anyway, he was a bluff character, always perfectly turned out, spoken, I suppose, serviceman slang, was known for being unspun, but he was frightfully rude to journalists. Often he would swear at them in the 1950s and 60s. That being a deferential era, they would never dare report it back then. There were rumours in the 50s he was having an affair with somebody, so the palace took the very unusual step of actually denying it. He was a very active person. He liked competition. He was not a bookish sort at all. So anyway, nobody doubted the Queen was faithful to him. So he also had to be playing second fiddle to his wife. That series, The Crown, all shows him immensely frustrated. He wanted to be a man of action, but he couldn't be. He tried to keep his opinions to himself, but he certainly said things which would be regarded as racist these days, like to white British students in China, "Don't stay here too long, you get slated eyes," or "A fuse box been badly done, this looks like it's been put in by an Indian," things like that, allegedly telling a little boy, "You're too fat to be an astronaut," which a child aspired to be, and on and on. But he was wickedly witty. In Kenya for his independence celebrations, moments before the Union flag was lowered for the last time, he turns to Jomo Kenyatta and says, "Are you sure you wouldn't like to change your mind?" And some people thought that he was crass. He was had a tin ear for public opinion, or telling people to pull the finger out and work harder, or about unemployment, saying, "Well, people used to moan they don't have enough free time, so why are they griping about being unemployed now?" said to be homophobic and on and on and on, or even crashingly snobby. But he was born in a different era, telling Prince Harry allegedly one steps out with actresses, one does not marry them. So there we go. I mean, Princess Anne is said to be the closest to him in temperament, a chip off the old block. So she's very much her father's daughter. But he was always perfectly presented. He didn't really let the side down, apart from racialist comments, which weren't regarded as terrible, which they are regarded as now. So that's it. He's died. He's an institution. He was involved in all sorts of charities to do with the environment, the habitat of animals that was destroyed. So he did his bit. He held all sorts of honorary positions, colonelships. One duty he found disagreeable was membership of the Freemasons. Traditionally, the monarch is briefly like Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of England of Freemasons, but he held this in utter disdain, the mafia, the mediocre. So in 1952, when the Queen became sovereign, she couldn't become a Freemason because women weren't allowed to be Freemasons back then. So on her behalf, he was sworn into the Freemasons. He went to that one ceremony, was never ever went back. In my goodness, however many years it is, 69 years. Felt utter contempt from it. So people will be saying, will the Queen, is she about to die now? Because she's had him by her side for so many years. She's 94. Her mother lived to 101. Doesn't guarantee the Queen will live to 101. Medicine in advance, she could go on longer. The Queen long ago ruled out any thought of ever abdicating, no matter how frail she may grow. She may delegate some of her duties, but she shall always remain the sovereign till she draws her last breath. She's excluded the possibility of passing on the baton whilst living, which has been done in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Spain, and even in the Vatican in recent years. Who knows what it means for her health? I know one spouse sometimes dies just weeks after the other one. It's not the most lugubrious thing to have happened. Many people have died far younger. He's lucky to make it to 99. To think I was not 100 metres away from Buckingham Palace when I heard the news. Not that he died there, he died at Windsor Castle. So all sorts of things will come out in the press about him now because he can't sue. I mean, the royal family, until Meghan Markle came along, said never complain, never explain. But nevertheless, he did have to put up with a lot, with Mohammed Al Fayed saying that Prince Philip was a German Nazi and had authorised the murder of Princess Diana and stuff like that. But Mohammed Al Fayed saying he can sue me if they're wrong. Of course, Fayed was saying in court, knowing he couldn't be sued because of absolute privilege. So Prince Philip, well, they broke the mold when he was made. He was sort of old school, though upright, unemotional, unsentimental, dutiful, maybe a bit close-minded, but presentable in a sense. So I never met him. I suppose I saw him on the Mall once, and that's it. Well, now he belongs to the ages. So there we are, all these significant figures. Des O'Connor died not so long ago. Sean Connery, just last October. Sir Roger Moore. Underscores one's own mortality. That's enough. Toodaloo.